Hello, and welcome to the sixth installment of the Health 360 series. This is a demo of the Nutrition Navigation Tool Excel file. This sixth template of the Health 360 series is an easy to use Excel tool designed to track your nutrition and help you design and plan daily meals using a structured approach. This file implements daily and weekly trackers, a stunning automated dashboard, and various tools to help you tailor your meals to calorie and macronutrient needs. Feel free to check the link to my shop to find all the Health 360 series products, as well as other Excel templates and productivity tools. You can also check out my YouTube channel to see other product demos, tutorials, and courses that might be of interest to you. Now that we're all set, let's dive straight into the good stuff. In this video, I want to give you an overview of the template and show you how to use the daily journal in detail. There are two additional videos where we will review the dashboards as well as the tools in detail. For this first video, there are 5 sections that we will be covering: the template overview, customization, daily journal, and additional functionalities. First, let's do the template overview. There are, as you can see, 5 tabs or worksheets in this file. First one is customization, where you will configure and customize your template. The second one is My Journal, which you will use to define and track your nutrition metrics. Then you have nutrition, which is the dashboard. Here you will find the dashboard corresponding to your tracked metrics. And then there are 3 nutrition tool worksheets. First, nutrition values, which is where you will find your food and dish database. Then the planner, which is the daily meal planner and design tool. And it's also where you will find on the right the search tool functionality included. And then finally, the nutrition log, which is a comprehensive daily log serving as a companion to your nutrition planner. You can think of these files as 2 separate templates in one. First, you have the nutrition journal, which is a daily journal for you to define and track up to 30 nutrition metrics, and a companion dashboard for you to evaluate and visualize your performance on each of those metrics. And then the second template is a nutrition and meal planner tool that helps you design your daily meals to ensure you meet your nutritional requirements. This tool is comprised of the database, the planner, and then the advanced log. And it also has the search functionality that I mentioned here. This video is focused on the first one of the 2 templates, that is the tracker. In the second video, we will review the dashboard in more detail, and then the third video is a deep dive on the nutrition tool. However, before moving on to the tracker, let me give you a summary of how the entire file works. Step 0, which is completely optional, is for you to customize your template. You will do that here in the customization worksheet, and you will change the labels of specific sections of your template. Then, for the tracker, you will go to the My Journal worksheet. Step 1 is that you will enter the start and end dates for your journal, here on the top left of the worksheet, where you will choose any time frame up to 53 weeks long or 371 days. The calendar that you can see here at the top will be updated automatically based on your selections. Next, step 2, you will define and customize your nutrition metrics over here. You have space for up to 30 metrics, defining their name, the goal, and an optional daily value, or DV in this case. Next, step 3 is for you to track your metrics, entering their values on a new column every day. That is, entering a value here on your actual journal. There's also an additional cool functionality, which is also completely optional, that will allow you to visualize your results directly in your worksheet. It's called Show Color Coding, and all you need to do is to click on this checkbox. And finally, step 4 is for you to go to your dashboard located in the nutrition worksheet, and then customize the metrics that you want to visualize, as well as some additional parameters here on the left. These dashboards are automated, and all you need to do is to select the nutrition metric you want to visualize here in this drop-down provided. Now let's look at your nutrition tools. Step 1 is for you to fill out your food and dish database. The nutrition metrics that you define in your journal will appear here. As you can see, I have calories, fat, carbs, protein, which if I go back to my journal, are located here: calories, fat, carbs, protein. And then in the next columns, you will see that I have saturated fat, cholesterol, dietary fiber, and so on. And these variables or values come from here, the ones that I have defined on my journal. This is how the two get connected. They also appear here on the left, as you can see. In this drop-down, you can also select an entry from your database to visualize the specific values in more detail. This example file will be prefilled with some common food values. So as you can see, if I select apple here, the apple row will be highlighted, and then all the nutrition information of the apple line will be displayed here. Next, in step 2, you will use the Nutrition Planner worksheet to design your meals and analyze their nutritional information. You will customize and activate up to 6 meals per day here, and then you will select the day of the week to activate your summaries. In this case, I selected Monday. You will then fill out this calculator by entering the day, the meal, the food or dish from your database, as well as the serving quantity. And you will use the check marks provided here on this first column to indicate whether or not to include a specific food or dish. After you've done that, your dashboard here at the top will be updated to reflect your selection, as well as this dashboard here, and then all the corresponding summaries on the left. As I mentioned at the beginning, in this worksheet, you will also find the search tool here on the right, and it will display the foods and dishes from your database that match the criteria and parameters that you have specified. So as you can see, my criteria is breakfast protein healthy, and then my logic is or, and then everything gets displayed here. If I were to select, for example, and, so only egg whites is displayed because egg whites is the only one that has breakfast, healthy, and protein in the tags. Or what if I go back to select or, and then I sort by descending order, for example, on the calories. You can see that this is pretty flexible. Also note that you can hide this section on the left so that you can have the entire space for this, or that you can have the entire space for both of this. You can unhide it or show it again by clicking on this plus. Finally, the step 3, which is completely optional, is for you to use this extended nutrition log to capture all the relevant information for each day. In this first table, your selected meals from the daily meal planner will be displayed automatically. So everything that was checked and corresponding to Monday is shown now. The entry date, this one, will be pre-filled based on today's date. And all you have to do is to copy and paste this information in your advanced log records. So if you click on here, you will see that this second table is your actual nutrition log, and this is where you will keep track of everything that you have consumed for each day. Right now it's completely empty, and as you can see, it has 0 entries. So I can go back to my selected values, and here it will be marked as I have 18 entries available. So all you would have to do is to select this entire table, then hit Control Copy, and then what you can do now is to go to last record, and then as soon as it's positioned here, you can do Control Alt V and then paste values, or select here paste, then paste values. And as you can see, as soon as I entered it, now the format is updated because it now reflects that I have entered these values. And now these are only values, so no formulas are included. As I continue entering more dates or entering different values, this table updates automatically. And every day I just do the same process. I copy this table, and then I go to the last record, and then I populate this table. Now let's focus on how to use the daily journal for this video. And as I mentioned, you can find the dashboard and nutrition tools deep dive videos in the description. Before we talk about customization, there are a few key things you need to know regarding the template's format. First one is automated cells. Whenever a cell has a color background, it means that it has a formula, or it also serves as a reference, so you should not modify that. So for instance, all these headers, or these fields, or the entire panel here that shows your calendar, all of those are cells that you cannot modify. Now, editable cells. White background means it's a good to go cell and you can edit or change its value. For example, all these cells, these correspond to your actual journal, and as you can see, whenever I want to track a value, I will simply edit this cell. Or what happens here? If I want to define a new metric, I simply just input it. Now some white background cells turn yellow to indicate that there's an input required. For example, if I delete these three, you can see that these two are required because I have defined a metric, but I haven't specified a goal. But the daily value, here, this last column, is not required, so it's not in yellow right now. Also, as you can see by now, some cells, like this one, or this one, implement dropdowns for you to make a selection. Notice that only the values that appear in the dropdown will be allowed for those cells. Another formatting thing that you have already seen, conditional formatting. Conditional formatting is basically when a cell implements a format that gets activated or triggered based on either its contents or the contents of other cells. This gives that cell a specific attribute based on how those conditions vary. For example, you've seen the yellow background that gets activated when these two are empty, and that signals you that there's an input required. Another conditional formatting that you can observe is what happens if I click here on the go to highlight date. Now you can see that this column is highlighted because it corresponds to the date that I have specified here on highlight date. And then lastly, freeze panes. Freeze panes, in simple terms, is the feature in the spreadsheet that locks rows or columns in place so that they remain visible while scrolling through the rest of the worksheet. For example, what happens with this cell, G6, if I scroll down or if I scroll to the right. It's always visible. The way you activate or deactivate that is the cell that you want to keep visible, you go one to the right, one below, then you hit on view, and then freeze panes. And here you click either on freeze panes or freeze panes based on how your worksheet looks. You can also freeze or unfreeze entire rows or entire columns, but only one selection at a time. Now, going specifically to customization, you have this worksheet customization, as we've mentioned, which you can think of as a step 0 and change the values of the labels across your entire template. You will find 3 sections: journal labels, nutrition dashboard labels, and nutrition labels, values planner, and log, which basically means you have the labels organized by section. So the ones regarding your journal, the ones for your dashboard, and then the ones for your nutrition tools. Within each of these sections, you will find several tables. For example, this one. These tables contain the labels and or symbols used across the entire worksheet. All you have to do is to change the values that appear on the right, so the ones that have the white background. The values on the left are for you to never lose the reference of what changed. Now that we have talked about formatting and customization, let's now talk about your journal in the My Journal worksheet. This worksheet is where you will track your nutrition metrics. The journal has basically 3 logical sections. First, the date section, which is here on the top left, has the start, end, and highlight dates. And also to the right, it has the panel that displays your calendar automatically based on your selection. Then you have your parameter section, which appears on the rows beneath that section here on the left, where you will define your metrics. And then finally, the third section is your daily journal section, which is the intersection between those two. That means each row is a metric and each column is a date. The first thing that you will do is that you will set your dates for your journal, which can be, as I said, any time frame up to 53 weeks long or 371 days in total. So this is obviously an example and it's pre-filled with different values, but let's pretend it's empty and I will delete these contents. Now you can see that there's no calendar information displayed and the journal is actually grayed out. You can think of these time frames, so the start and end dates, as the time in which you want to achieve any of your goals or you want to track any of your metrics. You set the start and end dates directly by entering them in your local language format. So if I want to enter January 1st of 2024, and then I want to go for only 1 year, I would do December 31st of 2024. As soon as I hit enter, now my calendar gets updated. As I said, each column will represent a day in your journal. Now, there's an optional value here, the one that's called highlight date, which we have already touched upon briefly. This highlight date value will allow your journal to be automatically highlighting the column corresponding to the date specified, and whenever you click on this link, then your journal will be positioned on that column. As you can see, the value is October the 2nd, and then you can see that I have October 2024 here. Then it's a Wednesday, and it's the 2nd, and all the column is highlighted. And in my particular case, this means that October 2nd is a Wednesday located in week 40 of my journal. Now let's talk about a few additional notes on these dates. Since the template is designed as a weekly journal, I suggest you use complete 7-day periods. That is a time frame that covers full 7-day weeks. But if you decide to use a time frame that is not a multiple of 7, so for example 6 months, or whatever it is, your calendar will display the incomplete week in gray. What happens, for example, if I selected December 31st as an end date? If I go all the way to the end, you can see that I'm still using 53 weeks of my calendar, but the last week is incomplete because it only has 2 days, December 30 and December 31. So these 2 dates are now marked in gray. Now there's no error here, and that's completely fine. It's just indicating that that week is incomplete. My suggestion is for you to use complete 7-day periods. So if I wanted to go all the way to 53 weeks, I would specify January 5th of 2025. And now you can see that the week is complete. Or I could have also selected December 29, for example. Well, let's do that. And again, I have full 7-day weeks. However, you can use any time frame as long as you don't exceed 371 days in total. So you could use, for example, a month, which could be only 28 days in length if you want to use 7-day periods. Or you can actually go and say, hey, I just want to track till the end of January. And so I can put January 31st, 2024, and that is completely fine. Now, what happens with my highlight date that turned red? It's indicating that it's not a valid parameter because my start and end date only cover till January. So if that's the case, then what you would have to do is to update either your start and end dates or your highlight date parameter. Let's undo my end date selection for now. Once your dates are in, the next thing to do is to define your metrics, here on the second panel. You can track up to 30 nutrition metrics, each with their own goal and daily value. You will first write down each of your nutrition metrics in the space provided. Note that calories, fat, carbs, and protein are already predefined. You can change the label that appears here if you go to your customization worksheet. After defining a metric, for example, this vitamin D in micrograms, then you would select a goal and a daily value. Now for your goal, what you can do is to set a target, so in this case 15 micrograms, because I have specified that in the label, and then set the target to be above or below that specific value by using either the greater than or equal to symbol, so the one that I'm using, signaling I want to be above that target, or using the less than or equal to symbol, for example here in cholesterol, meaning I want to stay below whatever value I specified for goal. In this case, for cholesterol, I want for each of the individual daily values to be less than or equal to 300. And in the case of vitamin D, for example, I want each of the daily values to be at least 15 micrograms. Then, after you have specified your metric and then your goal, you have the option of specifying a daily value. This daily value is optional and is for your reference. When you look at food labels, you will find that the percent daily value is the percentage of a nutrient in a serving of food that contributes to your daily diet. It's based on the amount of a nutrient you should consume each day, which is called the daily value, or DV for short, and is generally based on a 2,000 calorie diet. Now, the usage of this value in the template is for whenever you go to your nutrition values database, and then you can see that there's a percentage daily value that is contrasted for each individual food based on your daily value. If you leave it blank, then nothing will be shown here, basically. Finally, all that is left is for you to track each of your metrics daily, entering their values on the columns that match the day you're filling out for in your journal, and then the metric. Now, getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, and without going too much into the details, for the tools, there's an easy way to fill out your daily tracker. If you go to your nutrition planner, you will find these for summary with the header nutrition metric, daily goal, total, and percentage of the daily goal. Once you have already made the selections of your food or dishes for each of the meals of the day, which I will explain in the nutrition tools video, you can simply copy the values that appear on column F. So these ones, the total value, which you can do by simply selecting the entire column and then clicking on Control Copy, then going back to your journal, and then going to your highlight date, and then given that you're positioned on that very first metric, you will simply copy as values. So by either Control Alt V and then paste values, or going to the paste menu here and then selecting values. Keeping your planner updated and making sure you have selected the right day with the right foods will make the tracking process extremely easy and efficient, and will give you the added benefit of using the dashboard to actually extract some meaning of your journal. A couple of additional notes. When a metric has not yet been defined, so like this one's, the cells on your journal will be completely grayed out. You can see that there's a different tone here between row 21 and row 22. Or what happens if I delete, for example, the vitamin D label. You can see that the information is now grayed out. Doesn't mean that there's no information, it just means that it's hidden. So if I just hit Ctrl Z, there it is again. And the second thing you already saw, the yellow color will appear on the goal cells, so these two, in case a metric has been defined but these values have not yet been specified. One last thing regarding your journal. Each time you need a new time frame, so a new year for example, to keep track of your metrics, you will need to create a new file to begin a new journal. For this you have two options. Option 1 is to create a copy of your current file, so by going to File, Save a Copy, and then Save here in Excel, in File here on the ribbon. Or option 2 is to go directly to your File Explorer window and then copy your file with Control Copy and then Control Paste, and then renaming that copy. Creating a copy of your journal worksheet will not work because there are hidden references and formulas that will not be carried over. So remember, very important, you will have to create a new file every new time period. Now let's talk about the additional functionalities. There are a couple of additional functionalities I wanted to show you. First, the color coding, which you already saw here on cell F5. Activating this checkbox has two effects. First one, arrows appear here right next to each of the metrics, showing which direction is considered better. What I mean is, based on the goal that you have defined, these arrows point towards the direction that you generally want to follow. For example, if I want to stay below 2,000 calories for every day, the arrow points downwards because it means the less calories the better, just signaling that I want to stay below a certain threshold. On the contrary, if I say, for example, more than 125 grams of protein for each day, the arrow points upwards because it means the more the better. This is just a visual reminder for you to know which direction you're targeting in case you're not sure. And then secondly, and more important, the color coding will be applied on your tracker cells to display an evaluation of the values. Green, like in this case, will indicate you have met your target, while yellow will indicate you didn't meet your target. Now, please remember, there is no correct goal for any of the metrics. This is just a tool for you to define your needs and then be able to track it easily and more conveniently. Now, the second additional functionality that we also just reviewed was the highlight date parameter. By default, this highlight date parameter implements a formula showing today's date, so you don't really have to change it. But if you want to, there's a drop-down menu, or you can enter the date directly in the same format that you have entered start and end dates. Once you have entered a highlight date value, this link, click to go to highlight date value, will appear. When you click on it, as you saw, your journal will be positioned on that column corresponding the date that you have specified on highlight date in your journal. This is entirely optional. It's designed to be easier and more flexible, and it's important to know that you don't need to fill this out before you actually put some values that you want to track in your journal. One last thing, A few important reminders before we say goodbye. First, dropdowns. Dynamic dropdowns implemented in this template are creating by using information from other cells. If you edit those cells after you have already selected an option from the dropdown, your selection won't be updated automatically, and you will have to go back to your dropdown selections and update them manually. For example, let's just get ahead and look at the dashboard dropdowns in the nutrition worksheet. If I click here, you can see that all the metrics defined in the journal appear listed for you to select. Now, let's add a new metric, which I will just call example. It's now in my journal. Let's go back to the dashboard. And then I look for example, and it's here. When I click on it, it has no data, so the entire dashboard's empty now. But as you can see, I was able to select it as soon as I entered it in the journal. So this is a dynamic dropdown because I added a new value and then I saw it on the dropdown. What happens if I go back and then I delete this? Now, see what happens in the dashboard. It has errors here and it doesn't know what to show because example doesn't exist anymore. You can see that nothing after vitamin D is listed. And if I want to write down example, nothing shows. Whereas if I write vitamin, you can see that there are a couple there showing. So this error cannot be prevented unless you're very careful on what values you actually put in any of the dropdowns that implement a dynamic fashion. In this case, what I would have to do is to delete these or substitute it with another metric. Let's put calories back. Now the third reminder is cell automation. Do not modify any cell that has a colored background unless we have explicitly said so in this video or you find it in the manual. And then finally, please never use Ctrl X or cut and paste to move content around in your workbook. Using Ctrl X will alter formulas and or formatting, causing unexpected errors. Consider using always paste values or in some occasions paste formulas. You can always do first Ctrl copy and then go to paste special here, or do Ctrl Alt V and then select paste values. That's it. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up or leave a comment below. Feel free to check out the Nutrition Dashboard and Nutrition Tools deep dive videos. You can find the link to each of them in the description below. You can also subscribe to my channel. I will be uploading more product demos as well as Excel tutorials to help you create your own tools and templates. You might also want to explore the rest of the Health 360 series product videos available on my channel. And if you're interested in more productivity and planning tools, don't hesitate to check out my store by clicking the link in the description. Until next time, stay productive, stay awesome,